What's up, knife people? It's Pocket Knife Collector, and I'm going to be talking about Spyderco today, one of my favorite knife manufacturers. And Spyderco does make some big beastly knives like this Military 2. It's 4-inch blade, but that's not today's topic. Today we're going to be talking about some little Spydercos, and they have also made quite a few of those. Everybody is probably familiar with the Dragonfly, right? This is a model that's been around for a long time, typically in VG10 steel, but they've been offered in sprint runs in all kinds of different steels. FRN handles, backlock, and one of the neat things about the Dragonfly is that even though it's got this pretty small blade, it gives you a full grip. I have size XL hands, or at least I wear size XL gloves, and I can get all 4 of my fingers comfortably on that Dragonfly by using the finger choil, and then I have a jimped area here for thumb ramp, and I have a lot of control over that full flat ground blade. Spyderco does small knives well, and they've done a lot of different small knives. One that I showed recently on this channel is the new Rhodey XL. This is the larger version of the Rhodey, right? Which is a slip joint knife from Maniago, Italy. The standard version of this thing is in N690 steel, but this XL version, which is still a small knife despite the XL name, is in M398, which is an extremely high edge retention steel, also made in Maniago, Italy. And again, we've got a finger choil up here where I can put my first finger. We've got a jimped area for my thumb and plenty of room for 4 fingers. I've got a pretty comfortable grip on this small knife. And because I've got such a good grip on it, the fact that it's a slip joint that doesn't lock is not as worrisome as it could otherwise be. Of course, we've got knives like the Ladybug, which is more of a keychain knife. No pocket clip on this one, like that Rhodey XL that does have a pocket clip, or the Dragonfly. This H1 version is part of Spyderco's Salt series, which is impervious to rust. Also made in Seki, Japan, like the Dragonfly. Now, this is a 3-finger knife, or really almost a 3-finger knife. We've got 2, and yeah, we've got a spot for my 3rd finger there. It's not the most comfortable spot in the world, but I've got good control of this knife. It's a locking knife, and as keychain knives go, the Ladybug or the Man Bug, which is very similar but has a little bit thicker ricasso area and a little bit different blade profile, is a decent option for something to put on your keychain. Spyderco has made some like comically tiny knives. This is the Bug in 12C27 now. Swedish steel from Sandvik. These are made in China. Not really a user. It's a 2-finger knife. And it's more of a novelty item. But I suppose you could throw this on a keychain. It doesn't lock like the Ladybug and Man Bug. Oh, we got so many more. They've got some high-end stuff, some low-end stuff, some fancy stuff, some limited stuff, some regular production stuff. Here is the McBee in CTS XHP. This is a titanium frame locking knife. saber grind, and I guess we could call that a sheep's foot profile or Warncliffe. I'm not sure exactly what Spyderco calls it, but it's got a straight edge and a blunt tip. Sorry, Spyderco still calls their frame lock knives Reeve Integral Locks, giving credit to Chris Reeve, who pioneered the frame locking pocket knife. So that's an R.I.L. lock. Got this very, very thin profiled Spyderco Cricket. There are versions of this with a plain edge, and there's also this serrated version. Again, because we have a finger choil, we've got pretty good control over this knife. It's 3 fingers really, and again a frame lock, stainless steel handle, or the discontinued Spyderco Spin. This was made with a few different designs on the handle. It does have a pocket clip, but it's quite thin. VG10 blade. No finger choil up here for this one, so it's a 2-finger knife. And that's definitely in the vibe of a Warncliffe blade. Again from Seki City, Japan. Also a frame lock. How about the dog tag? Right? You could wear this on a beaded chain, among other modes of carry. It's a detent knife, no real lock, but it does have a detent to hold the blade open. This one's in CTS BD1 with a nice rough stone-washed finish. That is a pretty small blade there. We're looking at, not quite 1.5 inches from the pivot, and really just over 1 inch of cutting edge. And we've got some other novelty items like the Pokey. I think this is pronounced Pokey. It might be Pochi. It's P-O-C-H-I, I think. This is a kind of a dramatic clip point blade, a saber grind, and it looks kind of like a dog. And look, you got a tail. Kind of silly, but kind of awesome. I love you, Spyderco. You make weird stuff. This one's got a pocket clip. It's a titanium frame locking knife. And it's a flipper. It doesn't flip real well, but it is a flipper. CPMS 45VN. Pretty good steel, particle metallurgy. It's got sort of a paw print there in the pocket clip. Some interesting scalloped details on the handles. Blue anodized accents. This is out of production. For Europeans who have blade restrictions as well as restrictions on locking knives, Spyderco has several options, like the UK pen knife and this little thing, which I believe is a squeak, made in Italy. Again, almost a 4-finger grip. Definitely 3, and then we've got a little bit more room here. And a full flat grind. Leaf-shaped blade. No lock. We do have a wire pocket clip. The Rhino. This has got carbon fiber laminated handle scales. I don't think these are solid carbon fiber. I think this is a layer of carbon fiber over G10, if I'm not mistaken. And this one has got upgraded hardware, this aftermarket bronzed set of screws. Other than that, it's stock. It's got the CTS XHP blade, which is kind of almost a Persian style upswept blade, or you might just call it a curving clip point with a lot of belly. And no finger choil on this, but 4-finger grip. 4-finger grip, compression lock. Pretty neat. Small knife. One more exotic one here. This is the Spy Nano, which is a flash batch, meaning it's even more limited than a sprint run, because they're never going to make another Spy Nano. That's the concept with the flash batch. With a sprint run, they could make more with a different configuration, different blade steel, different handle material, something like that. But with the flash batch, it's a one and done thing. So we're not expecting to see any other Spy Nano in production in the future. But you still can get the Lion Steel Nano, which is who Spyderco collaborated with on the Spy Nano. Again, we've got a titanium frame lock, or Reeve Integral Lock, as Spyderco likes to call it. It's got an over travel arrestor in this case, a removable flipper, and a deep carry pocket clip with micarta show side and titanium lock side handles. And the Italians like to crown the spines of their knives, so it's nicely rounded over on top. And this thing is also in M398, like that Rhodey XL. Premium steel from Bowler. Okay. And then we've got some stuff that you're probably more familiar with, like the Micro Jimbo, the small version of the Yojimbo, which I have a full 4-finger grip on. If I put my finger up here on this part of the handle that also includes the ricasso, and we've got a full flat grind on this, unlike the hollow grind on the bigger brother. Got a compression lock, made in Golden, Colorado. And in addition to this S30V version, there is also a sprint run in 15V. And the Little Native. This is another Golden, Colorado knife. This one's in S30V, but there is also a 15V sprint run that is still available at the time that I'm recording this video in October of 2025. We've got the wire pocket clip, compression lock, finger choil, full flat grind, stonewash blade, and 4-finger grip. So, there's an assortment of Spyderco's cool small knives. That's not all of the cool small knives that Spyderco has made, but it's a bunch of them. And I'm going to unbox one more for you today. Got this package in from White Mountain Knives in New Hampshire. And there. Another baby Spyderco. And this is also a sprint run. The Spyderco Balance. Okay, so this is a knife that was designed by Ed-Schempp, who has done some really interesting knives for Spyderco in the past. This is a model that has been out of production for a long time and is back, now in CPM Spy 27. Originally, I think these were in VG10. It's little, and it's weird. With that finger choil, I've got 3 fingers very firmly on the knife, and I can kind of have a little resting place for my pinky finger there as well, although it's not, I wouldn't call this a 4-finger grip. It's like 3 and a little bit. And the way this thing is designed, it presents the blade with this downward cant, which Schempp likes to do. I carried this knife, which is also an Ed-Schempp design, for years. This was my everyday carry pocket knife. This is the Kukri, made in Japan, and it is a Kukri shaped folder. It's got that forward cant, and this has got quite a bit more reach than the Balance, and more real estate on the handle, and a more capable blade, although this is just VG10, which is not as sophisticated as Spy 27, although it did inspire Spy 27. And I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this design. For an EDC knife that you're going to use for things like opening packages, having that downward cant makes a lot of sense, right? You could use this for all kinds of other things, but realistically, that's a pretty common everyday task that it would excel at. And the reason this thing is called the Balance is because when it's folded up, it's really symmetrical, right? It's like a weird little rounded triangle. Look how tight the tolerances are around that lock. That's nice. We've got a full flat grind. We've got G10 on the show side and stainless steel on the lock side. Little lanyard hole. Let's measure that. It's like 1 1/4 from the cutting edge to the tip, and 1 1/2, not quite 1 1/2 in overall length to the tip. And it's a kind of a weird thing to measure because it's, you know, like if you were to draw a line in the middle of this thing, it would have a bend in it, but that's not the way rulers work. Pretty neat. Before we do some size comparisons, let's have a look at the note that Spyderco packed with this knife. When you do a sprint run, Spyderco provides some commentary. Alright, so it's telling us about Spy 27, and this is entirely about Spy 27. And then we've got another note in here about the Balance, right? You can pause this and read every word if you'd like. Basically, the first paragraph tells us what a sprint run is, and then this tells us about the original Balance, which came out in 2010, so 15 years ago, and about how this sprint run is a little different. It's upgraded in a few ways. Okay. So comparing the Spyderco Balance to some of its small siblings, there it is next to the McBee. It's got more reach than the McBee, but the McBee actually has more cutting edge. There it is next to a Dragonfly. Dragonfly's got more handle and more blade. There's the Spyderco Spin. Rhino. It's going to offer significantly more capability than something like the Ladybug. Dwarfed by the Spy Nano. The Cricket definitely has a little more edge. Less edge on the Balance than on the Rode or Rode XL, and the Spy 27 in terms of performance is going to be in between those two as well, at least in terms of edge retention. It's going to have better toughness, I think, than M398. How does the Spyderco Balance compare with other popular tiny knives? Here's the Wesson Microblade with a D2 blade. Spy 27 is definitely going to be a preferable steel, and you've got more to hold on to. This too is a frame locking knife. It's titanium on this side and G10 on this side. There are versions of this that have titanium on both sides. Here is the James brand, what do they call this? The Redstone? Red Rock? Redstone, I think. Yeah, the Balance is significantly smaller. How about some Benchmades? We've got a Benchmade mini bug out and a Benchmade 945 mini Osborne. Both of those quite a bit bigger than the Spyderco Balance. Same goes for the mini Griptilian. Just for the sake of consistency, since I almost always provide a comparison to Spyderco's venerable PM2 and Para 3, we'll show you those options. Let's go back to our military 2, which looks darn silly by comparison. And since Spyderco is kind enough to remind us that this frame lock is a Reeve Integral Lock, let's go ahead and show the Balance next to the smallest of Chris Reeve's, which is the Menandi. Now, one of of the most compelling reasons you would carry such a small knife is if you're trying to minimize your loadout. Carry the lightest gear that you could. And this is indeed very light. Comes in at 1 1/4 ounce. Compared to the mini bug out, it's a 1/4 ounce lighter. But compared to the Dragonfly, looks like it's about the same. And if we switch this over to grams, we see that the Dragonfly comes in at 34 grams, whereas the Balance is actually a tiny bit heavier at 37 grams. You're not going to notice that difference, really. A few grams, not really perceptible. But the point being, if you want a really lightweight, small pocket knife with good handle real estate, you got a good option from Spyderco in the Dragonfly. Which brings me to the final point that I have to make about this knife, which is the price. So a Dragonfly in VG10 is going to cost well under $100. It's got a strong back lock, 4-finger grip, nice blade. Spy 27 is an improvement on VG10. So this is nicer steel. It is particle metallurgy. It's going to perform better in pretty much every way than VG10, a little bit. But the MAP price on this, if I remember correctly, is like $225, which is kind of silly. And some of that is just the way that things are in 2025. I've done some videos recently on knives from other brands that also have sort of preposterous prices. Costs have gone up. I don't know what it costs Spyderco to produce this knife. I know that they make other knives in this same steel that are quite a bit larger, so they use more material for significantly less money. But volume factors into pricing as well, and this is a sprint run, so it's going to be very limited volume. And if somebody came to me and said, hey, I've got around $200 to spend on a small pocket knife, what should I get? This is probably not where I would send them. If they came to me and said, hey, I've got a couple $100 to spend on a pocket knife, and I've already got a couple hundred pocket knives, and I'm looking for something different for my collection, well, yeah, then I might say, hey, do you have a Spyderco Balance? That'd be something interesting to check out. It looks different. It's cool. It's fun. That's a price that is fair to a collector if a collector is willing to pay it. Is it an appropriate price for a everyday carry small pocket knife? I don't think so. You'd be better off looking at a Dragonfly for a lot less money, or for a little less money, something like the mini bug out, right? Which the S30V version of it, at least, is still in a more reasonable price. This version of the mini bug out in S90V is $370. So, Benchmade is getting a little silly with their prices too. It's not just Spyderco. So, acknowledged, yeah, I know some people in the comments that's all they're going to want to talk about is this thing's overpriced, it's overpriced, it's overpriced. Well, then don't buy it. They don't need a lot of people to buy this knife to sell out the run. It's a sprint run. I would have been happy to pay less for this knife, and I think that would be appropriate, and Spyderco probably could still turn a profit, but it is what it is. If you're mad about it, I guess let them know. But if they sell them all, then the message they're going to get is that price was okay. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. That's my little overview, unboxing, first look at the Ed-Schempp-designed Spyderco Balance. It's not a full review, but I did want to put it in context and give some love to Mr. Schempp for making one of my favorite Spydercos. Ed-Schempp designed a lot of really cool Spydercos. If you're not familiar with his work, look him up. Look at something like the Schempp Bowie or the Navaja. And honestly, I hope they bring more of them back. I would love to get an upgraded version of my Spyderco kukri with a higher performance steel than that VG10. I hope that it's priced a little more reasonably than where they priced this Balance. But you know what, Spyderco? If you charge $200 for the new re-release Sprint kukri, yeah, you know, I know, everybody knows I'm going to buy it. Thanks, everybody. I hope this video was interesting to you. Click like, give me the thumbs up if you like the video. And if you follow my channel, if you subscribe to my channel, you're going to see a lot more knives. Thanks. Bye-bye.